Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a bit of a hybrid video here in Victoria 3. The first part is we are going to be playing as Belgium, doing a bit of a starting steps. I think next patch in 1.9, Belgium is going to kind of become the premier play tall trade experience, and we are going to develop and cover a strategy for playing tall, not expanding, and just developing economically in this way. I think it's going to really go well in the next patch as trade is buffed, because Belgium in particular has kind of the best specialties in manufacturing, and so we are going to be doing a starting steps that caters to that, as well as covers a lot of the unique things concerning Belgium. I do think it's one of the better countries to learn on if you're okay with a bit of variance, because France can sometimes get a little bit upset with you. The second thing we are going to be covering is there is an exploit that allows you to effectively delete your debt. Currently we have reserves, but if we had debt, we can delete it down. Now, I posted a video describing this exploit, and a couple people were commenting and they didn't think the exploit was that strong. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be playing somewhere between 5 and 10 years, get some stuff set up, and then we are going to be diverging. We are going to do one play kind of playing normally, looking to eco up, and we are going to do another play where we are utilizing this exploit to churn, and we are going to see over the course of something to like 5 to 10 years which one of these economies is bigger and how big a margin they are bigger by. We'll cover the exploit once we get to that point in time. For now, let's take a look at starting as Belgium. Now, Belgium is a small state that is quite powerful. We only have a population of 4 million and a very small GDP at the start, but we have several advantages here. The first of which is we start off in the best tech bracket, already having railways and also a general staff to give us a skirmish infantry. We're going to open up with a research on water tube boiler, which is going to be very important for us economically speaking. It's one of the most powerful ones, but it's going to be very valuable for the exploit we're going to be running. But also, we start off with excellent sort of both government and laws being very solid. We do start off on monarchy. That's perhaps not ideal, but our monarch is going to be Intelligentsia, and his heir is going to be petite bourgeoisie. That's relatively good as far as interest groups grow. We have the Catholic Church, which is a fairly solid religious group, and for our laws, we do start with freedom of conscience, which is going to be good, easy to get onto total separation. We start with voting already available. We start with kind of not necessarily a premium school. We have homesteading, and the main idea is we have most of our laws in place, and it's fairly easy to get onto some of the other really good alternatives that we would like to have, like laissez-faire, and so we are going to have a relatively easy time economically to reform and get ready for a big boom. To that end, the best companies in the game, or the country that has the best companies in the game, is Belgium, and these companies allow you to specialize, and this is one of the reasons we think that Belgium is going to be particularly strong next patch, because it is going to be easier to focus manufacturing. This John Cockerell company is probably overall the best manufacturing company in the game, and is probably somewhat tied for the best tooling workshop company in the game, with the other one being Lil Pop in Poland here, which will have both tools and iron on the same company. But here with the John Cockerell company, we are going to be getting tools, steel, and engines, and they are all going to play nice and tall together in a single state. We also have the extremely powerful, the Congo company, not this one, although this is a unique company for us, that is fairly good for Belgium, but we also have the best rubber company in the game, which is tied behind our culture, which is going to be Campagne du Congo, which is going to be iron, wood, and rubber. Rubber is often a late game bottleneck, so this is going to be really strong, and normally you'd have a logging and rubber company, and this one adds iron on top of it. Very good for the resources, although it is annoying that you end up slotting it in rather late, and so recomping out of a different iron company into this one is maybe a little bit of a hassle. But these two companies are both achieved from the state of Wallonia, which is another feature that is very strong for Belgium here. For our top 10 states, list that we did, which featured the loud car outside, we had Wallonia as the 7th best state in the game. A big part of that power coming from the fact that they do gain access, or you do gain access to those companies when you own Wallonia, but Wallonia is what's known as a rainbow state. And we won't go into a full explanation of how MAPI works in terms of local local prices, but generally speaking, you want to source the resources that you are going to be using in various things. You want to source them locally. And so we want to have steel mills be buying the iron and coal here locally. And so as a result, they will have better prices both at the buying side and as the selling side because of how local prices work. And so you want to be having everything all together and be able to vertically integrate. Wallonia has every mineral resource in the game except for gold. And so by having all this together, this means you're going to have better prices and your buildings are going to be more productive. Finally, kind of the cherry on top is you do have a couple of very strong formables in the form of United Netherlands. If you subjugate Netherlands, which is going to be kind of a feature that underpins sort of Belgium run, you will be able to form the United Netherlands, which incidentally will also give you access to the Dutch East Indies, and this will be quite strong. But also, if you want to go for something a little bit more spicy, you will be able to form Central Europe here as well. And so, let's get started. Now, one of the first things about playing tall is you often don't have a lot of states. We don't have a lot of states here as Belgium, kind of the two big ones, and then Gelre here, but in the two ones we have, we are going to be running quite a few decrees in them. The fewer states you have, effectively the more powerful the decree is, because if it applies to a greater proportion of your country, it's going to be better. In both of these, we are running a migration decree, which is going to give 20 flat and 20% migration, an encourage manufacturing decree. I think services in particular are going to develop well into 1.9 as trading increases. Services are a local good, so they must be produced locally, and so having a bit of throughput on that is going to be nice. And then finally, we are running the road maintenance decree for state construction efficiency and also a little bit of infrastructure that we are going to be receiving. For our diplomacy, we are running improved relations with four great powers, Great Britain, France, and Prussia, and we are also going to be putting an interest here in North Germany because you can, if you are under a great power, you can rival a bunch of German miners, which is going to be quite strong because it is going to be an excellent source of diplo. You can see we can rival some of the ones that are in the Rhineland, and they are not going to really be able to stop us, but they are going to generate for us quite a bit of influence, which we can use for infamy decay and leverage generation, mainly focused on the infamy decay, although for this run specifically, for both the reason of when we split and doing two different things, have that be more consistent, and also because we're trying to play tall, we are not going to be doing any conquest unless we have a really good opportunity to go after the Netherlands, which we will look to subjugate, although they need to decay down to minor power in order for us to subjugate them. But for a sort of run where you are looking to conquer and this sort of thing, you're going to be highly limited by the amount of light ships you have, or just ships in general, and this is going to prevent you from conquering. The kind of spots we would go for, it would be kind of leading into the very soft Bahrain. 0 battalions here gives you an interest in the area. Also the very soft Gaza here, 0 battalions, gives you an interest in the area, and then eventually you go after Transvaal and Oranje, although you do make sure to be wary of the fact that their independence is guaranteed by Great Britain, so you have to either be on the same side of a play as Great Britain if you want to do this, or you need to wait for them to get rid of that. If you want to get on the same side of play as them, you can declare a strategic interest in South China, at which point when Great Britain joins, you can join Great Britain, and then Great Britain will be unable to join against you when you go after Transvaal and Oranje. Brunei is also quite strong as a state to take. It has gold, it has really good resources, and it gives you an adjacency here to Sintang, which is part of the market inside Lanfang rather, which is part of the market inside Qing, so this will allow you to trade adjacently with Qing. Very important in 1.8, not as important in 1.9. After you get this, develop a bit of a power base. Going after and subjugating people in South America will be kind of the prime way to approach stuff. For our queue, we are going to add one construction sector here, and then we are going to look to focus on kind of the mineral resources here. It might be a little bit better. In fact, we're going to make this a adjustment for now, where we are going to swap off of the manufacturing decree. For now, it will be better to be encouraging resource industries here in Wallonia. It's going to be quite strong, and I think next patch, what you're going to do is you're going to look to do your resources in Wallonia, and possibly just do all your manufacturing here in Flanders, which will be an interesting one because you will be able to solve some of the problems related to MAPI. If we take a quick look at this kind of dev diary, we can see that what will happen is trade centers will create goods when trade center, each trade capacity allows for a certain quantity of goods to be imported or exported. The amount varies per good. Imported goods are purchased from the world market and sold in the state. And this is the key point. They create, buy, and sell orders in the state. And so they are profitable when the goods are cheaper in the world market than the state, and the opposite being true for exports. And the key point of this is that effectively overrides the market access price impact, so it's possible to have one state specialize in manufacturing and another state specialize in mineral extraction. For us, if we are going to be doing that, we are going to have that flip, so we are going to be doing that, and we are also going to be making sure to check all of our PMs. We have several that are not swapped up. Don't forget about the universities, and we'll make sure that everything gets swapped up to better PMs and be off and on our way. Now, for our trade routes here to start, we are going to put on export prioritization, luxury clothes, and luxury furniture. This is going to be good for a few reasons. First of all, they're dirt cheap in our market, so they will make good for good trades. But second of all, as we increase the price of these, what we will have is we will have a situation, as we put up the luxury price, this will allow this building to employ up better, even as furniture gets down low, as equilibriums for furniture get low, and this in turn will allow us to increase SOL overall. So generally speaking, you would prefer the luxury good to be expensive to the regular good, but we want to run the best PMs we can, and so we want to do precision tools. Even though it decreases the amount of furniture we're going to be running, we're going to be looking to resolve that in trade. Notably, next patch, trade will not work actively. We instead will be automatic based on where you have decided to put your trade centers. We're also, because we have such a good tooling company, going to look to export prioritized tools and send them out as soon as it's profitable. Right now, the price is a little expensive to be doing that, and what we're going to do is we are going to look to import agrarian goods. We put this on export prioritization, thinking we'd get a cheeky corn laws, but the landowners need to be over 20% clout, and since we actually start off with a reasonably good situation here, we are instead going to look to import stuff like grain as well as fabric, and so we're going to do a bunch of that. This is kind of going to be important because by trading, especially since we are lean and relatively small, we can actually get a decent amount of routes. By trading, we will allow ourselves to recomp our economy towards the things where we have really big advantages in, which is going to be the things that we have companies for, as well as kind of the really good mineral resources that we have here at the outset. Now, for laws, we do want to get on laissez-faire as quickly as possible, and another one we want is going to be proportional tax. Proportional tax is going to be a little bit tricky without a movement. We are going to keep an eye on if we get a movement like a labor movement that is going to allow us to move up onto that, something like that. But for now, we are going to reform the government. We are going to bring the industrialists into government, and we are going to take a crack at passing laissez-faire. As far as taxes go, our expected standard of living is quite a bit below our current SOL for the lower strata. We're going to keep an eye on that, but I think that we can run slightly high taxes. We will see how this increases our minimum expected standard of living, and then also simultaneously decreases our SOL over time, and then also we are going to be decreasing government wages, looking to give ourselves a bit more of a budget to work with. I think we're probably going to be able to sneak in 2 construction sectors kind of at that rate, so we will build the 2 construction sectors, and then what we are going to do is we're going to make things a little bit easier on ourselves, and we're going to put an auto expand on the iron here, so it will automatically fill up, and an auto expand on this here. We will let the tooling workshops expand themselves, hoping to get a little bit of construction speed from John Cockrell Company and not be slotting it in ourselves, although we will slot some in ourselves. We can see 1 construction in terms of the private queue is already going into building a tooling workshop, and this is in fact the companies. So this is going to be quite nice. They are going to be getting a massive construction bonus because we are going to have the extra construction speed, not only from the company, but also from the decree that we had put down. Something we are going to be actively trying to push here as we do diplomacy with all the great powers, improving relations with all of them, with the extra diplo we've gotten from the extra rivalries. You can see these in here. Something we are going to be pursuing is trade agreements. Now, we can't get a trade agreement currently with France, but we are quite close. We don't want to owe them an obligation, though, so what we're going to do is we are going to look to push as much trade as possible into their market. We are going to import stuff that's really cheap. We're going to export stuff that's expensive, but most of all, we are just looking to create as many buy orders as possible of these goods, because by doing this, we can change the differential here by just running a bigger and bigger volume of trade, and we can cancel the trade that's not profitable. You see, each route we put in is going to change the price or the equilibrium here by 2, and so we just need to put in the routes, even if we are going to just turn around and cancel the routes, which is something we might do with some of the less profitable ones. This will allow us to get a very nice and easy trade agreement. We are going to look to do this type of thing with each of the GPs while simultaneously floating as much influence as possible from all these rivalries. We can do some more rivalries, and so we are going to be keeping an eye on this. We already have a trade agreement with Great Britain, and so we're going to get ticking positive relations with both of these all the way up to 80. Improve relations capped at plus 50, guarantee independence and trade agreements capped at plus 80, and so that'll serve us well diplomatically here. So we are off to a good start here. The thing we're doing is we're looking at the balance plus the investment pool, and we're looking to pull this into the negative because we're looking to delete down our money, but not super fast. We are going to be... They'll get a new draft. We are also going to be, in particular, running mainly iron mines in the queue in terms of what we are actively building and choosing to build here, which is going to be useful for us because it will drive down the price of construction, and also we will look to try and make it more profitable for these to be operating. We are coming up on condensing engine pump pretty soon here, which is going to be nice because not only is not only is condensing engine pump insane, water tube boiler is going to be a labor-saving PM. We can see that we do not have an enormous amount of peasants to work with, and so we are going to be needing them. Something we need to keep an eye on is our power rank. We decayed down to a minor power. Even if we bring up our government wages, which is a source of negative prestige, we still won't be a high power, so we'll keep those low. But if you are on the kind of borderline, you can just do this once a year, just bring it up, get into your power rank, and then be good to go. Now, this is what we were talking about earlier. Great Britain, like clockwork, is declaring on Great Qing. There might be some cheesy way where you can declare this war yourself, snake Beijing, and invite Great Britain, but if we were looking to go after Transvaal here at the start of the game, what we could do is we could support them unconditionally. This is also useful because it will automatically set us to genial or protective, and they will look to play nice with us because the plus 1,000 attitude score here, it is always nice. It is a nice reset. We are on the same side of conflict, so we get that there. We are going to make a bit of an adjustment here. We have some extra authority to work with, and we are also running one of these consumption taxes here. We're going to pull that off. We are going to increase this so that we get over 200 authority, and we're going to come into decrees, and we're going to promote social mobility in these two places. We should have been doing this from the start. This will give us quite a bit of tech as it increases the tech spread, and we're not currently tech spreading much, just labor movement. I think Great Britain starts with it, and they're the only ones that start with it, but this is going to be useful for us later, and it will be useful off the back of us having some literacy. With water tube boiler in tow, we have a couple options. We can look to kind of specialize here in nitroglycerin and play the economic game here. We are natural spreading labor movement, and in terms of PMs or things that are going to be useful inside of the tech tree for this, the thing that we really kind of want is joint stock companies, I think, but after that we're going to be mainly focused on production tech, so I think we're going to look to do something like nitro into maybe mech workshops, and this way we will look to get a relatively early steam donkey / dynamite. This is going to be good for us because we are going to benefit quite a lot from steam donkey. Looking to play tall, won't have a lot of pops, and labor saving PMs are going to be our friend. We're adjusting our wood a little bit here. We didn't adjust it. It's better for us to do specialized in one place and also specialized in the other for softwood and hardwood. We've chosen hardwood production in Flanders with the idea that Flanders is going to be a little bit better at producing furniture, and that's going to play out well for us. And then on the flip side of things, we're doing softwood over here in Wallonia, which has the resource decree, so we'll get more kind of raw stuff from this. We're going to look to export wood as much as possible. We've also put auto expand not only on the wood but on the fishing wharves, and by exporting the wood we are going to be able to de-peasant faster. We are going to be able to push the peasants out, and we are also going to try and trade as much as possible with Prussia, looking to pull them into our ability to trade with them. We do see we have quite a bit of opportunity for this iron here as well, and we're also going to double check hardwood. We can export it pretty well, but we can also export it to Russia. Even though this is not profitable for the Russia route, we are still going to do it anyways because we want to push up our development of our logging camps as fast as possible. This will de-peasant, and then we'll kind of transition away from the logging camps as time goes on, and we get to the point where we are running out of labor entirely because what is going to happen is the logging camps aren't very efficient per worker, but they are extraordinarily efficient per construction because they only cost 200 construction for us to build. So we see that we could, if we wanted to, use an obligation to get an alliance with Great Britain. This would be fairly strong and maybe something we were interested in if we were declaring offensive wars, but right now it's only going to serve to make rivals of Great Britain more angry with us and decrease our ability to get trade agreements with them, but this is going to be something to at least kind of keep in mind. We do see France is offering us military assistance kind of for nothing. This might make enemies of France less likely to get involved with us, but we are keeping an eye on the trade routes that we can get, the trade agreements. Currently not able to really ramp up enough with both Prussia and Austria. We are getting to the point where we're losing money slightly in terms of the balance, but we're actually not really losing money because we're accumulating investment pool. As we start to get into debt, what we can do is we can let loose the investment pool by privatizing some of these buildings, and so considering we are still effectively gaining money, we are going to add a little bit more construction, and we are going to look to, if we can get and weasel our way up to being a major power and on laissez-faire, which we are pretty close to this, what we are going to want to do is we are going to want to deficit spend to about 50% of our budget. And we are quite close to this because if we increase this, we can increase our prestige, at least temporarily, up to around 74. So our economic development is almost in the spot where we can maintain major power just by slotting up our government wage for 1 week of a year. It'll be nice once we get onto laissez-faire. Of course, since we are so handsome and, good looking and obviously skilled and good at the game, we're going to get it on this next tick here. See? What did I tell you? Going to be nice for us. It's going to let us slot in another company here. We are going to go for the iron company because this is what we're pushing right now, and this is going to be quite powerful as we will get a lot of additional throughput on the iron mines that are dedicated to the company. With that done, we also are set on privatized, automatically toggled because of laissez-faire, and we're hoping with the massive amount of investment pool that they buy all of these up, and that will to some extent right our money issue. We are kind of approaching to some degree 1841, and that's going to be the point at which we bifurcate and do a combination of just kind of a normal play tall situation versus this. We are still keeping an eye on this. Can we do this at least temporarily? No, we can't, but we are going to... Ooh, can we? No, we're close. We could get a little bit more power projection from this. Yeah, that'll do it. So now we're a major power, and now we just decrease this back down and take our better budget, and we will just decay over the course of a year, but we just need to slot it in one time a year. So we are on the cusp of getting Prussia in terms of a trade agreement. We could wait. The volume of our trade probably increases here, but we could also just fiddle with this and make sure that we can get it in against Prussia, and so we will look for something to either export or import. It doesn't really matter what it is because we can just cancel it later later. We'll import this from the Belgian market, sure. We will export this hardwood if we can. Looks like we're already doing it. Looks like we're already exporting softwood. I don't think we can import this. Can we import that? That's crazy. And now they are willing to accept that trade agreement, so that is 3 GPs down. We are wheeling and dealing and getting better, ready for trade. We're really in a good position for going after trade with all of these guys, and so the only thing that remains is Austria and Russia, and of course the United States, who is a little bit harder to get sort of good relations with. And so what we'll do is we will actually rival up some more people and look to improve relations with the USA here. We can in fact rival still a bunch of these guys who have no shot of being able to oppose us in any way, shape, or form, and so we will do that. And also this is one of the benefits of not being a GP, is you can go after just putting your interest in North Germany and getting effectively just a bunch of free influence, and so this will be important for us for getting all of these trade agreements, which we can cancel some of these Prussian ones that were a little bit less profitable. We'll keep the wood one in, but just as an example, the grain one, not profitable, we will cancel it, and so we are being able to churn out more specialization the more trade we do. And this is going to get really robust in the next patch, and this is why we're trying to focus on this right now in particular. I think that we don't have glassworks anywhere, so we're going to do this. We're going to put this on auto expand, and yeah, we don't have it, and it's not looking to auto build because we don't have the better PM, and we're going to put the lead mine in behind it and also get the lead mine PM up and going, and so this is going to work well for us. Of course, we do want to have the lead where we have the glass, because lead is an input on this PM here for the glass. So labor movement here is going to be a pretty important tech. It is going to be important because we are hoping that this spawns a labor movement here. We don't see a labor movement. The reason we are hoping for a labor movement is because it is going to be difficult for us to get onto prop tax without a labor movement or substantive trade unions, but trade unions are way easier to get up and going anyways as we get into that. So if we exit the reform here and we take a look at the trade unions cloud, we're expecting to see, when we look at this, a little bit of a spike that occurs. Is this the spike from trade unionists? There's the spike from trade unionists, and they demarginalize, so now they are going to get voting or power from voting. They're very upset with us, of course, and so we will look to pass something that they like here. I think that we can get rid of, we could go after something like this, or we could even just slot them into government and go after the very thing we were discussing, proportional taxation. The Industrialists won't like that, but they're super happy with us right now, and so we're going to see if we can get a decent looking reform here. Can we get these guys in with some sort of... So this is the crux of the issue. Difficult to get these guys in. If we get the Intelligentsia in, this will require kind of a sacrifice of sorts, but we can get the Intelligentsia in, and with the Intelligentsia, unfortunately, market liberal opposes this child labor. We would like to find a way to make the trade unionists happier, but also we could just wait around for the next election. It is going to be happening in 1840 because we expect, now that they're demarginalized, for the trade unionists to have a better chance at getting and picking up a whole bunch of clout here, and so maybe we go for that. We could in theory recruit generals, this type of thing, to try and push this, but we're not looking to play as that spicy. I think recruiting generals to specifically get the trade union clout up a whole bunch is a bit of a vibe, and that would take quite a bit of recruiting and firing of generals. So we do manage to spike a labor movement, which is perfect for us. We see that per capita taxation, they hate it. They'd be more than happy to go on to proportional taxation. And so what we're going to do is we are going to come into the budget. We are going to temporarily increase this so that we unlock a little bit of authority. And then we are going to come and I think what we're going to get rid of is going to be the promote social mobility. We have to free up 200 of this of these points, this authority, so that we can bolster this here. We do want to bring them up kind of as quickly as we can, and then we won't forget to tick that down. We are running a slightly positive balance, which we don't want to be doing, and so we are looking to add a little bit of construction. We'll finish the fishing wharf. That's almost a tongue twister, and then we will go into a construction sector here, kind of just cruising away, chipping up at getting a little bit of this extra, not getting the benefit of kind of a more normal run where we have South Africa Africa gold probably by this point, probably open up with it, siding with Great Britain and then going into Transvaal and Orania, because this will give us really valuable gold, but we are still steadily adding to the construction amount here, looking to accumulate a little bit of debt now that we're on laissez-faire and major power. We're also taking a crack at free trade. Probably should have started passing it a little bit earlier, especially because we're pushing these trade routes in particular as part of our strategy. All right, we have a very interesting opportunity here, partially brought on by our diplomatic efforts with a defensive pact for Prussia. Now, we've been thinking about going after the Netherlands because it would be nice to just form United Netherlands, and this would be kind of a thing that we could do, and if we full annex them, this will work out for us. But the thing is, Prussia sides against us, and we could bring in Great Britain, but if we put in enough stuff to full annex, there's a good chance Great Britain just abandons us in the play, and we would have to fight both Prussia and the Netherlands, which we can't win that fight. But if we have a defensive pact with Prussia, they can't join against us. So we will accept this defensive pact, and now we are in very good shape. We need more maneuvers, though. We need to not be a minor power. But taking a look at this, if we just do this just for a second and unpause the game and take a look at where we are now a major power. So what we can do now... Whoops, that was the wrong thing to tone back down. We wanted to tone this down. What we can do now is we can declare on the Netherlands. We will need to move around some of our maneuvers. Just kidding, we have 2 free maneuvers because we will need an interest in Senegal and Grand Colombia if we want to full annex them. And what we can do here is we can put in a conquer state demand on them. And as you can see here, Prussia cannot join against us. They are ineligible for joining, as is Great Britain, which is very nice for us, and we see that France is looking to join our side, maybe, so this is going to be looking pretty good for us. If we go for a full annex, probably not the most efficient thing to do, but it is something that we can do. We can use call ally, but I think there's a decent chance that they abandon us in the play, in which case this will break our alliance, and this isn't necessarily something we're interested in, so what we're going to go for is we're going to see what maybe France is interested in. Humiliation. This is, they will sway on humiliate Netherlands. We will be able to win this ourselves, just solo bolo. So let's first do a couple things to kind of put ourselves in a good position for that. We are going to increase the government wages to get ourselves some authority back. We're going to pull off Greener Grasp campaign. We're going to put down enlistment efforts. We are going to upgrade all of our units, and we are going to, because we didn't upgrade them before, and we are going to put in a whole bunch of conscripts here, and then we are also going to put in a bunch of artillery, and these guys will recruit up right fast with our decrees. Next up, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be putting in all the war goals that we want, just double checking that we have our interests already, because we are going to want to make sure that we can conquer everything of theirs, because we need every last bit of maneuvers. Yeah, we don't have them in yet. We don't have the Dutch Guyana, and so we will need to wait just a tick for us to get the interest. We see our interests are activated here, and so what we can do is we can put in the rest of the interests, or the rest of the war goals, but what we're going to do is we're going to put in... Actually, I think if we have humiliation, we might not be able to full annex. I think that will break our war goal, so we're going to go with obligation. With obligation, we do not need all of our maneuvers here, but something I just wanted to point out is these 85 maneuvers, we can spend all of these while the obligation is pending, and the idea is we can do a 20 maneuver invite. We are just short without it, but we don't want to accidentally click Bavarian Rhineland, but we want to conquer everything of the Netherlands, because if we conquer them, we will get their subjects as well. So we're going to put in Guyana, we're going to put in Ghana, and we're going to put in Galway. Did we actually have enough? We had super enough for everything. No, wait, we didn't. So you see how we have 17 maneuvers remaining. If we were using a 20 maneuver sway, what would happen is as we sway them in, we would go to -3. But as it stands, we hope that France sides in. France does side in, and we have 7 remaining that we can spend. And also, we should be not eligible to do anything else in terms of, well, we don't have enough maneuvers, but we are full annexing Netherlands, so that should be fairly good for us, and France is on the front, so France is very likely to full help us out. We can't invite Great Britain, but that's fine, and so we're going to put on this front, and we're just going to full annex the Netherlands here. Actually, we're going to split these guys a little bit. because we do need a little bit of extra power on this other front. So let's do that. And assign over here so that we can make sure we grab that first. And this war should be fairly straightforward because we have an enormous advantage and it doesn't look like anyone's joining against us. Russia's the only one who maybe would, but they're even protective towards us, which is absolutely crazy with the amount of infamy we have. I think what we'll do is we will actually make sure that we have the rivalries, all the max rivalries, because that way we will decay infamy a little bit faster, just kind of coming for these German miners as one does. And then just kind of going after the ones that aren't going to do anything against us, so we get a little bit more infamy decay, and this war should be over basically before it starts. So we definitely over-mobilized, but that's not the biggest deal in the world. For good measure, we are going to be getting in a bit of a landing, but this is a little bit gratuitous. Their navy can clap us. If their navy claps us, or looks like it's going to clap us, oh, just kidding. France is on the loose. France is clapping them. And so we should get in there basically instantly. We're going to roll them up very, very quickly here. We're going to put in on rapid advance, as was the plan, and we're going to recruit an additional gentleman because he is quite gentle, and he is in fact a man, and he will get in because we will be able to push both of these simultaneously. If they don't bring the 8 stack fast enough, they're going to be in big trouble, and they did bring them fast enough, in which case they're just in a little bit of trouble because, okay, we're still going to win. We are going to move this here, and what we're going to do is we are going to look to land their overseas stuff and just full occupy them once this gets cleaned up. We do see this does get kind of spaghettied here, so we're going to move this guy to this front, not because we actually want to push that front, but because we want him off the front that he's currently on. And so what we are going to do is we are now going to land this guy overseas. Just look to get the full occupation here. Unfortunately, we don't have 2 boats, otherwise we'd split them. We do need another gentleman over here. We do have expert offensive planner, so we'll just put in here. I think one of our guys has an insane trait. We're just going to put this guy on defend front, though, so we have a mixed bag as we look to push this front. Again, very kind of easy war. We probably, in theory, should actually demobilize some of our conscripts, but instead, what we will do is we will come to the decree. Actually, we'll just let this occupy first, and then we will come to the decrees and swap it back to what we had before, which is going to require this, and also us coming... This should be close enough. We're going to come off of this here, and we are going to go back to Greener Grass campaign and come back here. Although it will be, as we annex all this, it will be proportionally quite a bit less than we had before. Anti-American League demands action. We are going to say this is not in our interest. Unfortunate for us, Anti-American League does have the, the Catholic Church, but they're not the most important kind of element in our country, and so we will be pushing on, and this war is almost over because we have all this. We will not be returning Flanders. We will not be returning Wallonia. We will not be caring too much about that event. Man, we are winning a war here. The Luxembourg Advocate. Well, we are happy to have the labor movement become stronger here, and we will annex them, and they will be no more. We will be Belgium, so we get all of their subjects become our subjects. You can see here we have Belgian East Indies, and we will be eligible here, if we come into the journal, to form the United Netherlands, which is going to feel good for us. And so we are going to do it. And so shout out to clicking the button. Our personal favorite. We get National Unifier for an extended period of time, plus 25 prestige. Going to make it easier for us to maintain this major power status. And we will have a nice, kind of United Netherlands orange to feature in here. And we are kind of coming up. Well, maybe this is the inflection point here. It is August 13th, 1841, and I think from here, what we are going to do is we are going to take a save, and then we are going to look to play a pure eco game for 5 years without using this exploit, and then we will show the exploit and show just how big we can get the economy to go. We are going to look to float our deficit or our debt to around 1/3 to 1/2, playing as a major power. If we were a great power, we'd float it to 80 to 90%, but this is what we will do. We also picked up an enormous amount of pops here, nearly doubling, and a little bit of GDP, not quite as much, but this gives us a little bit more to work with here. And so, let's take a save and get to work. we're coming right along here. We did accidentally save a few days later, so we will be starting on August 16th. We're almost a year into this. We have done the thing where we are toggling up and down in order to just barely pip the thing in order to get the GP, so we get a much better loan interest rate, and we are pushing up construction now. We want to be losing money. We want to get to around a third kind of quickly, but these extra 2 construction sectors should help to push us there. I think maybe we need another 2, but we are getting closer and closer to kind of the construction level we want to be at. The GDP is going to start cranking up pretty quickly here. We are going to want to build on some of these new mappy rivers, which are going to be quite nice for us. We, in theory, maybe should move the capital to Holland, but we do have to incorporate it first. We have this reactionary movement. It's not going to be too big a worry, and if it pops, it's just going to be Holland, so that's really not the biggest concern in the world. We are running negative influence because we became a GP. In theory, before we did it, before we forced it, we probably should have spent as much Diplo as possible, but this is actually running us negative prestige, and so what we need to do if we want to kind of come off of this and maybe float and have enough prestige is we could stop improving relations. We're actually just going to get more relations with them anyways, so maybe let's do this, and we can kind of show that if we kind of brought this back, we would have enough prestige to stay over. And we need 153, we currently have a 190, and we will be able to bring this back down. Okay, so taking a look at what's going on, the trade unions we would love to get in, but we can't really form something more legitimate without, because the landowners want in. This is also hyper legitimate, so we'll look and see what we can cook up here, and we can actually go after proportional taxation. I think that is due to our labor movement being really upset and also relatively relevant, as one does. Are they giving us enactment chance? Let's take a look here. They are supporting... Do they need to... I think their relevancy has to be higher than that. So let's take a look at why we are getting some enactment chance here. We're getting it off of them. Where is the other source? I guess this is from the movement, isn't it? Okay, so this is from the labor movement. This is why we were bolstering them to begin with. And so we will be able to try and go up onto prop tax. And these guys are hyper loyal, so they don't get very upset. Look at that. The -1. We have just passed a bunch of stuff that they like. And also going for this should make the trade unions not upset at us, which they have been for some time. I think since we're at almost 90, we could decrease taxes slightly. We're not going to. We're going to do this, and then, uh-oh. Someone else left the government. I think we will do this, because this is what we need in order to try and pass the thing. And we will continue along trying to get through our proportional taxation and or maybe dealing with this reactionary movement, which should suit us just fine here. Alright, so I think we're going to intentionally pop this rev because it is currently absolutely diminutive. It is just this little thing, and this is kind of a fine for us to reset type of thing. Other than this might go really bad, and what I mean by that is... it might go really bad in the sense that if people join against us, because we're 69, nice, infamy, then we'll be in bad shape, but we do have a defensive pact and alliance, so I think we'll be fine enough. We will just recruit up some guys, and even if we're not, I do think we'll be able to get a landing off reasonably well with our 2-stack navy, shout out, sound off, and so I think even if someone sides against us that looks particularly troublesome, we will be fine enough. We also have our subject helping us out, very, very minor thing, and lets us put down the reactionary type of system. We are running a fairly big negative, considering... we're running effectively -7k because you do this number plus this number as long as you're able to drain your investment pool, which we're doing an okay job doing, and we're kind of floating into this third/half that we want to have. And so when we get these guys back, we'll be running a little bit more of a negative, but things are coming along. We're about to cruise into December of 43, so we're going to be kind of close to 2 years in here. We'll take the workers' clout 2 years into kind of this experiment, just playing normal, playing kind of regularly, and we are... Well, we don't have a very good metric for this. We were above 10 million before this civil war broke out, and once it finishes, we will be probably around 10 or 11 million GDP in good enough shape, and we will be conquering this guy relatively quickly here. Quickly enough that I think we could just watch these battles kind of tune down. No, we won't watch it, but we're continuing along as we go. a little over 2 years into playing here, we're going to move the capital to Holland, also sitting at 11 million GDP, coming along at a pretty good clip. We are benefiting from, you know, the investment pool multiplier, at least right now, and so we are getting quite a bit of extra reinvestment. We would be more if we were not on laissez-faire, if we were instead interventionism, because the government ownership thing, at least slightly. We are currently building up the iron mines, focusing on them in Wallonia. We're getting relatively fortunate, although there is a very strong bias in the place that has the company. We are getting relatively fortunate in that this company is buying most of these here, and so they are getting quite a bit of throughput. Throughput of 71 is going to be very strong. We're going to continue to push these up, and we are also going to switch to nitro here. We already have some boom booms. We're going to be swapping up the PMs on those, and because those are coming on in, we're going to put in an auto expand on the sulfur mines to make everything a little bit easier for us. In all of our new states, we do have the auto expand on the logging camps and also the fisheries coming in. Just very valuable to be pushing these 200 construction cost buildings, because it does let us de-peasant a little bit faster. You can see we're up to 531k peasants after incorporating that, and so that'll help us out. Also, of course, getting closer and closer to this proportional taxation, which will be nice. We do get our first mass migration to Wallonia. You have a pretty severe penalty for mass migrations if you have less than 5 states, so now us having more than 5 states is going to be a pretty big pusher for us to be able to get and pull in these pops. If we take a look, we can see the migration attraction here is quite high, and this is going to help us a lot because Wallonia is by far our most kind of employed up state. You can see that we are basically out of peasants, and this is going to be the point at which, especially in 1.9, we need to pivot here on the Netherlands here. I was going to say Belgium, but we're not Belgium anymore because we do not have any more iron, and so we have to switch to a more manufacturing orientation. We're also going to get rid of this university here. We'll just want universities in, well, it was in the capital, but now it's the former capital. I guess we'll just keep the level 5 here, but eventually we'll move it, because we also moved the capital to Amsterdam here. Mainly because of flavor, but also because in the very long run, it will be nice to have natural harbors on the capital, and also the Rhine River with the 5% MAPI modifier here on the capital. After passing prop tax here, we are going to go for a bit of census suffrage, but this proportional taxation is really going to allow us to crank up a whole lot more construction, really targets the upper class, generally gives you a lot more money, especially if you're already pretty urbanized, and so we are going to be able to afford quite a bit more construction sectors. We're going to put 2 down in the capital, and we know Wallonia is running out of labor. Otherwise, we'd want to put it there because this is where the iron is, and so it's better if we put the construction sectors where the iron is. I think we're going to go up to 5 in Gelre because of the reason of them having the MAPI River, and so all other things equal, we would prefer to construct on the river, and this place has plenty of peasants to work with, and by plenty we mean 42k. We got 72k there. We still have in Flanders a very large amount, and we also have in Friesland 46k, and so really we're hoping that they move from Flanders to some other areas, but we're going to add this smattering of construction sectors and look to be running some negative money. We're not quite running negative money. That's where we want to be. We want to be accumulating credit as our line of credit expands, such that we are going to be roughly going at the pace of our credit line expanding, where we're gaining credit. So for every 1 million of credit we gain, we want to be gaining 1 million of credit, or a little bit extra, because we want to stay in this sweet spot. That's a third to a half, or at least we would if we were on major power. Actually, on great power, we can look to push it quite a bit, and so let's actually add a few more construction sectors. We're looking to maybe build up to 80 or 90%, and so we'll add another 3 in here and continue on our economic crank up here as Belgium. So we are coming up on the 4th year here in August, and I just wanted to kind of point out the trade routes, what the levels we're currently running are. I think what we're going to do is we're going to cancel those clippers, look to produce those ourselves, but you can see what is shipping a lot of units. You can see what the costs are here, and the costs are starting to ramp up as we become a bigger player, because we are needing to run convoys to trade with some of these people, namely Great Britain. We need convoys to trade with them, even though we have an adjacency. We need convoys to trade with Great Qing, even though we have an adjacency out here because Sintang is adjacent to our subject here. But as we get bigger, the overland routes are starting to not cover it, and then we're eating into convoy cost, and this is kind of where the throttle for trade slowing down is at least here in patch 1.8. In patch 1.9, I think you just spam the trade centers here to resolve these issues, but we are going to be pushing up the trade as best we can. I think we're going to look to continue to export some of the stuff we've been pushing. In particular, I think what we might do... Yeah, so the thing is we don't have... Eventually, we want to swap from our resource decree here to our manufacturing decree here. We just don't have that level of manufacturers yet, but we do want to push it. We're pushing some of the textile mills here, but taking a look here, also, we are probably able to add a little bit more construction. We will put that in Holland, and we might be hitting 200 by the end of this 5-year kind of timeline. Alright, we've entered fantasy land where money's not real and it can't hurt you. Let's slot in our company as we did before, going for the same mineral company, which will work for us just fine. And what we're going to do is we are going to spam the construction sectors, but not just like low-key spam the construction sectors. I mean like... This is what we're doing here. That should be enough to bump us into a shortage. We're more than doubling the construction sectors, and we're just going to kind of grip it and rip it here. We're going to switch to importing probably on the iron as much as possible so we don't run a shortage, and so we're going to switch to import prioritization. I could have sworn that was on export prioritization. That might have explained why we were not running as big a routes as we thought that we could, but we are just going to cancel all of our iron routes. We don't want to run the shortage. We have swapped everything up to iron frame, and so this should very, very quickly just absolutely hemorrhage the money, which is perfect. This is exactly what we want. We're just going to get into there and get after it. For Wallonia, I think that we're going to look to push the construction sectors a little bit here. We are also just going to add a couple there. I think that'll be fine, mainly focusing where we have kind of advantages. We do need to reset some of these PMs here. We were coming in here for a reason. Oh yeah, there's not much reason to run high taxes anymore. We're going to jump the taxes down. We're going to increase this up. We are just going to absolutely hemorrhage money because it's not real and it can't hurt us. And by paying extra wages and reducing this, we should be able to get more available migration. The Intelligentsia is going to be super happy with us. Going to help us with the migration attraction. We are also going to get migration attraction from being a GP in just a second here as we kind of brick some of our agreements. I think that what we're going to do is we're going to stop improving with them and start improving with Great Qing. It's not going to matter too much because we won't be able to get trade agreements with this much infamy, but in theory we would want to go after a Great Qing trade agreement. We'll put in and swap up the PMs, but we are ready to just absolutely brutally run this disgusting negative deficit here. We're going to run it up all the way. Already one of the aspects that's going to play better for us, we're going to get way more mass migrations. We're sitting at now quite a bit SOL above what we were before, and we are now at the construction level that we were before, or that we were at the end of the 5-year stretch. Now the thing is we're losing minus 90k kick. And so it is the exploit that's going to keep us alive as we're doing this, but right now we are absolutely jamming up into outer space. I think that we're probably running negative, yeah, we're running some negative infra in these places. We're going to look to add a little bit here and there because these construction sectors do use some infrastructure. We're running a minus 100k balance when you factor in the investment pool change here, but we're super okay with this because we're just going to reset the debt over and over and over, and so we're looking to just run it up as quickly as possible per the exploit. This revolution also might just not pop. I'm not 100% sure. It popped on the last one, but with the increase in SOL, maybe the activism looks to slow down and just doesn't get to 100%, and it will eventually go away, or we could pass something such that they will kind of be okay with things. I think we'll take this. We don't mind the negative bureaucracy, and to be fair, we don't really care one way or the other. The construction advantage we would be getting if this does rev is maybe worth it. If it revs, actually, what's kind of annoying is most of the construction sectors that we've built up here will probably get deleted up to minus 150-ish K, when you factor in the change here, and we can see the rev is stalled out. So we're in okay shape. This is spiked up quite a bit. We can import this. The main thing that we want to focus on here is just getting as much construction as possible, as quickly as possible, and ignoring the existence of money. Oh no, we've defaulted. Whatever will we do? Well, default gives us some pretty negative penalties, but what we're going to do is we are going to use the exploit that we have explained here. The way that this works is, and we don't really have as big a line of credit as we'd like for doing this, and so we're going to have to do it repeatedly and quite often, but the way that this works is there is a ceiling on the amount of credit you can have, and since credit limit is half informed, you get half your GDP, so 5 million of this is from our GDP. What we can do is we can decrease our GDP, manipulate our GDP down, and when we manipulate our GDP down, because there is a ceiling for the amount of credit that you can run, we will decrease the actual amount of credit we have. We have 10.7 million here. What we're going to be doing is we are going to be swapping every single PM to some junker PM, to as bad a PM as possible, and what this will do is it will decrease our GDP. Our GDP is going to go down, and with it, remember, this 10.7 is the number we're kind of looking at. The big ones are going to be when we change over all of the, specifically, we have a lot of mineral resources. This is where the nut is kind of for us. And to make things faster, we might end up only swapping over the minerals, but we do have to swap everything down. And then you notice our GDP is like cut in half here by swapping up to picks and shovels. And since half of our GDP informs our line of credit similarly has also decreased by quite a bit here. And so when we take a look at what's going on here, we see that our line of credit goes down from 10.7, or our credit goes down from 10.7 to 9.48, which is below 10.7. We've decreased the amount of credit we owe. Now what we're going to do is we're going to swap all the PMs back up, and this will effectively net us 1 million free credit, 1 million free dollary dues. Alright, so it actually wasn't enough escape velocity. We needed a bit of a bigger GDP to be able to pull this off, or we needed to go for it earlier. So what we're going to do is we are going to rake back all the expenses that we possibly can. This is, unfortunately, we are not able to delete buildings, and we are going to crank stuff up. There we go. That's the ticket. We managed to just barely get to the point where we got over the limit. So as our default goes away, our credit limit has come back up, or as our GDP has come up, recovered, our credit line has come back up. And so now, instead of running that 10.7 million, we are at 9.4 million. We are going to actually run kind of somewhat more middling taxes because I think 10 million is kind of the minimum at which you can kind of make this work. And so we are going to look to crank stuff up a bit and then resume construction. And so as we resume construction, this, of course, is going to go wildly negative because a bunch of those stuff has been put back in, but we will get a couple of weeks of construction, around 5 weeks of construction, and then we'll repeat this process all over again. It's going to be super tedious, but the entire point is every time we do this, and we go from 10.7 million credit to 9.4 million credit, we're just going to be getting a million for free. All right. So it's that time again. We've defaulted a few weeks later here, not a ton of weeks later here, a few weeks later here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that entire process that we just ran all over again, where we are going to be swapping all the PMs back. We want to get a few weeks here, but the 1 week that we have to take off of running the good PMs is not going to be so unprofitable that it's not going to be worth it for us to just get a million for free effectively during that week. We just have to manually swap all these PMs back, and the GDP is again going to fall, and then we will decrease our line of credit from 10.9 million to much less, and as we decrease the line, the actual credit we owe will also decrease, printing more of this money here. We'll avoid showing you the tedium of swapping all these PMs down, though. We do get the rev. I think we'll pull back on the construction sector slightly so we don't have to run so many, so we get a few more weeks in between when we need to GDP reset over and over and over again. You can see here we're going to get about 6 weeks, and this gives our economy a little bit more time to rebound to increase the GDP. I think overall this will net us more construction, but we're on 175 construction. These buildings is getting built, and they are getting built at a rate of like 50% more than we were on this previous leg here, where we are like 2 years in, 2.5 years in, something like this. We also popped this rev way later, a little bit of a confound when trying to compare these two, but we are super okay here. We're going to hit default again, but we're just going to keep doing the thing where we can reset it. I think we will kind of run and eventually get onto prop tax here is I think what we're going to do, just so we can run. I guess we can't completely ignore the money because we need to I think we need a little bit more than 5 weeks for this to not just feel god-awful, and also to properly allow the GDP to rebound up high enough that we can get like effectively a full line of credit increase. And so we will be doing that here. We could even pause this here, or we could delete a little bit of construction. We'll do neither. We will just eat the default. There's the default for us, and we will go about decreasing the PMs yet again. It's a very powerful exploit, but it's also very, very tedious. So we finish up that rev, and we are now 3 years in. Our credit line is still actually down from before the rev, but we are kind of pulled a little bit back a little bit so that we have more weeks before we hit this default thing, so that we can have a few weeks of construction relative to the 2 weeks that we have to be paused on the construction. So we do have to actually care about the money a little bit more than I had anticipated here. So maybe this isn't quite as strong as we thought it was. But we also haven't gotten on to prop tax, and we were trying to pass consumption tax for quite a while here. So once we get on prop tax, things should be quite a bit better, and we should actually be able to sustain the level of construction we currently have. We're also overbuilding the railroads here. The idea being we get more migration this way. I think we'll actually, since we don't need these railroads, we'll maybe kick some stuff that's going to be a little bit better, and we'll expand our line of credit a little bit faster up to the top of the queue. So a little bit of some wood chops, this type of thing, and also some fishing wharves, which are going to incidentally increase SOL, helps us to get more migrants, something like this. But we will finish these buildings, and on a per level or per building basis, fishing wharves or anything that's 2 under construction is going to really, really perform quite nicely, and so that'll help us out quite a bit. The line of credit is up to 11 million, so the line of credit has increased, and we have another 2 years to try and beat 15 million and 150 construction, which I think we ought to be able to do. So when we talk about variance with Belgium and why I kind of don't recommend it to beginners, it's because of this event. Now the French are going to gain a claim on our territory, and this is going to create an anti-French league. I think that we would rather have the armed forces, or actually, well, let's just do this. Our relations with France will get hurt. They've laid claim to our territory. They're probably going to drop protective, and the fact that they often mess around with you is going to be one of the reasons why this is a little bit high variance. I guess they haven't gone for it. We also just finished wave after wave of these 200 construction cost buildings, and we are moving right along. We are going to hit a default relatively soon, but then we will just reset, and we will reset bigger than before. So I think that this maybe works a little bit better if you're considerably above 10 million, maybe around 20 million is when it starts to feel pretty good. I think we are kind of on the cusp of it just barely being good, although we are running 200 construction versus like 120 we had in the trial run the other way around. We still have around a year and a half to get up to 15 million GDP. So or maybe this way is just like not as good. We are getting more construction overall. I suppose we're not using it as efficiently, and getting prop taxes actually would make an enormous difference because this would let us run more weeks. In fact, we would almost be kind of break-even-ish if we had prop tax here. All right, so we pip another default here. We have just decreased our GDP a whole ton. Our credit line was 12 million. We take an unpause, and this should collapse. It collapses down to a little over 9 million, and now all we have to do is turn all the PMs back up, and we will earn ourselves a little bit of 2 million for our trouble. Our very, very tedious PM swapping everything trouble as we, swap everything back up. All right. all the PMs have been swapped back up, our GDP is back up, and as soon as we unpause, our credit line should go up, and as our credit line goes up, the default goes away. It's now up to 10.7 million. We've earned ourselves a 2 million or 1 million decades, but also as we turn on this construction, our line should come up quite a bit more, and you could see it's returning up to 12 million. So we could probably add a little bit of construction. Currently, we're running a negative balance of around 90k, and I think we can run about 100k, and so we're going to add a little bit of construction back into the mix, look to push a 250 plus. We also are getting kind of some good ticks on prop tax. I do want to get that in. I do think that would help us out quite a bit. We're running effectively minus 60k. We can outstrip that, I think, but we have the construction coming in, so I guess we'll do that. And then at the front of the queue, we're going to let a couple of these railroads finish, or at least we're going to make sure that we have enough infrastructure in, yeah, we're waiting for a couple of these to finish in Wallonia. Actually, let's put the non-Wallonia ones at the bottom of the queue here. And then let's go in, and we are going to expand out the wood again, which is going to be really good for increasing our line of credit, so that we have a little bit more time with a few of those buildings. And so we want to get, I'm not sure the number of weeks that is the break point, maybe it's 7 to 9 or something like this, but we are looking at our line of credit, we're looking at how negative we are, and how many weeks we're going to have. We see we'll have a little over 10 weeks, and so I think we can tolerate this pretty easily. I think we can tolerate it easily enough that we can add another couple construction. So maybe this is one where, you know, you have to fiddle with it a bit. We're about a year out from the 5-year deadline, and we haven't grown quite as much as I anticipated, but we also are a little bit of funny business building a bunch of railways, because I was figuring, hey, we'll get a bunch of migration capacity if we just build a bunch of railways, and we should instead just focus on the eco stuff. And so that's, I think, what we're going to pivot and focus a little bit more on the eco stuff, especially the stuff that's going to expand our line of credit, because it'll give us a little bit more time to get these things done. And if we get prop tax, we can probably go up to around 300 is construction. And the important thing to note is we lose 1 to 2 weeks with like 160-ish construction. And then because we have around 100 more for like 8 weeks, we effectively are netting, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 construction every 10 weeks or so, which is the equivalent of, you know, having plus 60 construction. But our baseline in the previous example was like 120, 140, so it's effectively boosting our construction by 50%. So this does seem quite potent, and we will have more escape velocity if our GDP is higher. We would also have more escape velocity, this is like really important to note, if our PMs were just better. The better PMs we have, the more swapping down to a lower PM decreases, you know, your GDP, which decreases the line of credit, which of course has a ceiling. So this would get better and better. We're going to, yeah, we're hoping we could get onto prop tax here, but if we can't, it's not the end of the world. And we're kind of closing in on the 15 million mark, really having it come up now that we swapped over our strategy to actually build decent buildings. So we're going to do this, and we are going to take a look. If it's not in Wallonia, we are going to kick it to the back of the queue, and we are going to get the iron mines a crank in here, which are going to probably be the most valuable building for us, because that is, if we take a look at our expenses, that's the nut here. It's basically all iron all the way down. We swap all the PMs down again. Here we're down to 7.9 million. We have a credit line of 12.3, but as we let this adjust and think, what's going to happen is that 12.3 is going to kick it down, and it's going to kick down to 10 million. So this is coming up quite a bit. Now that it's kicked down 2 million or 2.3 million, we will turn all the PMs back up again. Okay, all the PMs are swapped, and as we unpause, our line of credit should go back up, and of course, we gain 1 million here, and that is without the little bit extra as we start to climb, as stuff adjusts, our trade routes get fixed, all this type of stuff. We're getting a little bit of a mass migration. The SOL is about what we had at the end kind of last time. Last time I think we were also running a consumption tax. We eventually got in and started running services, but we're not trying to run services, we're trying to construct to the moon, so we'll resume the construction. But it is seeming like, okay, we're breaking a few weeks here, and while we have a whole bunch of iron coming in, I mean, and oh man, that is quite a bit more than last time. Maybe we were a little bit better in the micro, but around 2.5 million kind of has been earned here. And why are you not... No, you are employing up. See, this is the fiddliness that maybe makes this a little bit less worth it. We do get a new PM change, which is going to be nice coming in here. We are going to get canneries before the end here, and we're just hoping that we get prop tax. Prop tax would allow us to push a little bit more. We will give them echoes of revolutions, but we are running quite a bit bigger and negative than we were before. I wonder why that is. It's minus around 100k here, but we are going to have about 6 to 12 weeks in total before we hit it, and we are really, really close to hitting that 15 million mark. It's just with a whole bunch of additional, well, this is going to, well, let's do that one. It's just with a whole bunch of extra, zigzags in here where we are collapsing the economy and then bringing it back up to 14.6 as we get into May, but we're maybe not going to actually have a bigger GDP by the end here, and instead have a bunch of debt. The difference is, I think we have more buildings, and I think we have a lot of construction, and we've kind of wasted some construction into these railways here. I mean, I really do think we have more buildings at this point because we've had more construction, but maybe we've just idled so much and we needed to run the strategy a little bit differently. We are going to increase the line of credit as these wood chops kind of finish up here, but maybe just like threading the needle and looking to push up as high as possible the kind of the GDP or sorry, the credit limit without actually defaulting is the way to go. I mean, we do hit 15.1 million, so it's just higher, and we hit 15.1 million 3 months ahead of time, but this is not as robust a kind of situation as I was expecting running this exploit. As we have July and August, we have 2 more months, and we have this one here. I mean, if we had prop tax, we would be able to keep things going longer, and as it stands right now, I think we can increase the construction in these 2 spots. So we are getting up to 15.5. I mean, we started at like 10 or 11 million, so I guess this represents 10% more. To some degree, if we were to just stop now, and again, we have 2 more months to go. So it is working, it is doing something, it's just not quite as much as I had anticipated. And the negative balance really isn't, I mean, we're running barely a negative balance here. That actually might be entirely sustainable because of our just increasing the line of credit. We're going to look to add a few of these fishing buildings, which are going to let us kind of fight a little bit longer. We see that, in particular, Flanders is lacking market access. We'll see if any of these are in Flanders per our railway. We will put that to the front and look to resolve that lack of market access. But we are cruising, we're up to 16 million. Okay, so this represents a 20% increase as we kind of come in here on August, and this is going to actually be really good for us as well. But we're on August 22nd. We were supposed to go to the 17th. We did 5 more days. We're not on prop tax. We are running a kind of negative deficit, but we are economy resetting over and over and over again, and this is fine. And effectively, we increased our GDP by about 20% more than we did otherwise. This sounds maybe like this is the right amount in terms of how much construction we're getting, because we thought that we were getting maybe an extra 60 construction, and by the time we get up to like plus 200, that represents like a third. So I guess it's a little bit smaller than the effect we were anticipating, which is, I guess, an interesting reason to test this. This will get stronger, of course, as you get more PMs, because the swap back to the worst PM is going to be more robust here. Yeah, that's kind of the exploit as it stands, and what we're able to get out of it, which is a little bit, but not quite as much as we thought. We'll have a little bit of a think and see if we can form any more kind of conclusions here. Okay, we do have some thoughts here, and I think that we mismanaged, or I mismanaged, rather, how to best use this exploit, not really having experimented with it before. I think I blasted up the construction way too high, and I think that not going for the prop tax and also running the extremely low taxes and the extremely high government wages for an extended period of time, I think that was a mistake. And I think that was a mistake because I didn't fully appreciate that whatever extra construction you get has to be a large enough margin that you can be okay being shut down for 2 weeks. And what I mean by that is, if we take a look here, this default into the second default here, those were too close together. And you can see we kind of stall out. To be fair, we're having the rev here, but now we're getting a really vertical kind of line here because we have so much construction. And when these are too close together, you know, you're going to have 2 down weeks. The first down week, in terms of the budget, you are going to only be getting the amount that you're kind of sinking into the investment pool. The first down week, you are turning down all your PMs. And the second down week, you're turning up all your PMs. You're still getting a small percentage in terms of your investment pool in construction, but effectively your construction's off for that period. So the amount of additional extra construction you're receiving for the periods you're on in between those 2 defaults has to overcome the period in which the construction is down. So I was just looking at it, hey, it's free money into infinity. And it's like, no, you have to actualize that money. You don't have to realize the construction. And so I think that if I played this better, it probably would have been 25% plus extra growth. And I do think that's a really substantive number, especially because Victoria 3 is about snowballing, because we're taking an additional 20% growth here relative kind of to be fair, we also have this massive additional amount of credit, whereas the other one, we have around 6 million more credit or 5 million more credit than the other run, something like this. But I do think that we would be... snowballing harder out of this, and if we did a longer sort of trial, the effect would compound more and more and more and more, because we just a little while ago didn't think that we were going to actually hit the 15 million, and I think we just kind of realized the strategy here a little bit at the end and started really getting the growth. And so it's maybe like 33 or maybe it's 25% extra growth over the course of 5 years, but that growth compounds. So if you're looking at it in terms of larger timelines, if you do it twice, it's going to be 1.25 times 1.25 in terms of looking at your growth, and then it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I do think that this can be used to pop off really hard. We're not going to do it here because I don't want to do a run where we're... Well, first of all, I generally don't like using these types of exploits, but second of all, this is really, really tedious to do, to swap back and swap back up, but I did want to test it out and get a little bit more of a visual, as well as do a starting steps here for Belgium. I think that we are going to focus in on the countries that are going to be better in 1.9 for building a trade empire, and I think Belgium into United Netherlands is definitely going to be the type of run you want to go for. I think that probably subjugating the Netherlands is going to be better, or going for the Netherlands in 2 wars is maybe going to be a little bit better, a little bit smoother. But once you're here, you will eventually run out of resources here, and then I think what you do is you start focusing in, really, really hard on these industries and look to import the mineral resources if you're trying to play tall. And I think this will be an interesting way to play in 1.9. To some degree, it's interesting to play here. We're just gonna run out of here eventually here. We're a third the way to running out. We're built up to EOS. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, which was a little bit of a hybrid. If you have some thoughts on if you like these types of comparison videos, please let me know, because they do take a little while to look at, but seeing 2 things side by side I think is interesting. So also if you like the video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. The YouTube algorithm thing, hit the notification bell. That's actually probably the most critical one, because that lets you know when I post something, unless you don't want to know when I post something, in which case don't hit the notification bell, because I would hate to bother you. But other than that, have a good one. Bye-bye now.